Hello, it's me, it's Brian, it's Street Fight. I'm here to talk about stuff. Everything looks a little bit different because, as you know, last week, if you were following anything online, at the worst, well, I don't think there's ever like really a good time for this to happen, but somebody kicked the window in at the office where we kept our stuff, came in, and we had a door with a lock on it, and they pried the door open or kicked the door open and took everything. Like I had texted Brett to, keep him abreast of what had happened. And he was like, did they get what did he ask me? Did they get the focus right? And I'm like, they got the mic stands. So yes, they got you know what they got? Yeah, I'll tell you what they got. The fucking surveillance cameras in the place. They stole the motherfucking surveillance cameras. So they got the surveillance cameras. They got everything, and then the guy called me. The guy calls me, right? This fucking commercial real estate rental guy or whatever, and he's like, hey, I don't know if your producer, which I told him Jason's the executive producer, because Jason is currently now, he is like whatever an executive producer is, that's what Jason is. He's my right hand man. He's second in command here in this thing. And oh, not all uncles said, did you lose any Legos? No, but they broke all of the ones that I had there, like stored. They didn't even have to do that. I don't know why they would do that, but they broke all the ones that I had there stored. So now I just have a bunch of Legos. But so anyway, he's like, do you know if your executive producer wrote down the serial numbers for any of the equipment? And I was just like, who would do that? Like, what kind of person? Nobody does that. Nobody. And he's like, well, maybe the police. He's like, can you call and talk to the police? Maybe if you have the serial numbers, they can go ahead and maybe they'll recover some of it. And I was like, motherfucker, wait a minute. Excuse me. One, I will never have the serial numbers for anything I own. It's like when somebody says, what's your VIN number on your car? And you're like, am I supposed to have that fucking written down somewhere? I guess I'll go outside and look, I did not call the police. And if we had renter's insurance, there would have been an argument to be made to call the police and tell them what was stolen. There definitely could have been a reason, but we did not have insurance, and there's nothing of any there's nothing of any value to anybody but maybe me and Brett and our listeners more than anything. It's like all the memorabilia and stuff like that stuff's all still there. But the desks and the chairs are still there, and like all of the stuff people have mailed us over the years and stuff like that. Like I that is stuff that I will probably at some point go and pick up and mail out to listeners so that they can have it and stuff like that. But like, I was like, I'm not fucking gonna spend time on the fucking phone with the police trying to fucking get they aren't gonna look for this shit. Why would they? Even so, I don't think we're getting any of that stuff back. The guy is like just saying anything he can. It's funny because you can tell that the guy is saying anything he can to tell me that his insurance isn't going to cover us without saying my insurance isn't going to cover you. Like, he just definitely was like, yeah, I mean, they could recover it. So yeah, just, it would help us out if you, I'm like, I ain't helping you. I don't have any helping to do. So, will not be helping. He wants me to come and get the keys, the new keys. And I'm like, you can fucking leave it unlocked. What's in there? They stole the mic stands. They sold the goddamn boom arms from the microphone. I mean, what am I gonna go get? Like cool T-shirts that listeners sent me? I mean, obviously there's a Mancow T-shirt in there that I'd really like to get my hands back on. It says Turd 316, and there's a couple of other things in there that I would love to get, but like I just, you know, I feel exceptionally bad about it, and it's because I wanted to give all of that stuff to Brett. You know what I mean? So that's something that like makes me feel shitty. I mean, neither one of us could have made that happen. You know, that was going to be all his stuff. So I don't know how that's going to shake out or whatever, but like, we'll see. You know, I'm sure we'll be okay. I mean, obviously we got the call-in show running. Me and Jason Jason was able to get the call-in show running, which I do want to say, in November 13th, I think I'm gonna make some adjustments to the call-in show because it's just me, and I want to be able to bring guests on. I want to be able to bring people on screen. I want to be able to bring stuff on screen, play audio, and talk to the callers about that stuff. So basically what I'm telling you is the call-in show is going to turn into a real stream on November 13th. Still going to come out as a podcast. For all of you that listen to it as a podcast, I'm going to have Jake cut out all the, you know, whatever. I have to learn all the Twitch etiquette, you know, like, oh, you know, this person did a sub or what. I don't know how any of that works. So I'm going to learn all of that etiquette, and I'm going to have Jake cut all that out for the podcast. But I think people are going to like the newer version of the call-in show, and I think people are really gonna like it. And also, Screamin' Jay Walken said if any of the electronics were registered with the manufacturer, you might have access to serial numbers. They might have been, but we didn't have renter's insurance. So it would literally just be like if the cops found these specific things, then they would send them to us. But I don't know that they're going to do that. You know, like they're not gonna find the stuff. And so yeah, I'm gonna turn it into a stream. I think it's gonna be really fun. I think people are really gonna like it. People have missed out on this Wednesday stream. I have heard from people that were like really into that Wednesday, doing the Wednesday thing. I want to stream. I really like the freedom of how the Wednesday shows are working now. So like it helps me. Like this week, your guest co-host is going to be the guys from Seriously Wrong, SRSLY WRONG. It's a podcast that for 7 years at least, I think, for 7 years at the very least, I think, people have been asking us to get together. They told me the same thing. I said, yeah, you know, people have always wanted me to do something with you guys. And they were like, yeah, people have always wanted me to do something with us to do something with you guys. And I was like, you know, while we're talking about it, I go, and it is nothing against you. It's not like I listened and said I wasn't going to do anything with you. I did it because I'm afraid of you. That is kind of how things work, you know. This Friday, when the fucking Patreon, when the Patreon content comes out on Friday, the Shocktober Bubba the Love Sponge, the guest on that episode is John Gabris from 101 Ways to Die, or 101 Places to Party Before You Die, and the High and Mighty podcast, and he's been on Doughboys a lot and stuff like that. He's just like a super, really, really funny dude. And Comedy Bang Bang, he's done a lot of really cool stuff. He's the guest co-host, and I asked him because generally when me and Chris start talking about who we might have as guests on the show, I say, Chris, do you know this? I said, Chris, do you know John Gabris? And he responded to me and said, yes. And I said, he said, yes, I know who he is. And I was like, you want to ask him to do the Bubba episode? And he said, no, I know who he is. I've never talked to him in my life. And I was like, well, he follows me and he occasionally likes some of my tweets. And Chris was like, you should fucking ask him. And so I decided, okay, I'm going to ask him. And I typed out the message and I stood there for a minute and I was shaking, literally shaking. Same thing happened when I asked Chris to do Shocktober. Same thing happened when I had Nick Weiger on the podcast. Like anybody, everybody that's ever been a guest, it just fucking freaks me out. You know what I mean? And so yeah, I got the guess. I was like, okay, I'll go ahead and ask him. I asked him, he agreed to do it. It was very happy. And I sent Chris and my wife a thing telling them how cool it is that Gabrus is doing the show. And I said, and I've summoned up all the courage I'm going to have for the next 2 years. So I will not be asking anybody else to do the podcast in 2 years. Because I'm too scared. It takes everything out of me. I gotta fucking lay down on my fainting couch every time I ask somebody to be on the podcast. So that was a long way to say Nick Hayes called me, Nick from Means TV. He gave me a call this week to talk about the Street Fight TV show and the documentary of the Hellfire Tour and all that stuff. And I do believe if you're a Street Fight patron, on October 30th, you will get to see the first 20 minutes. You will get to see the first 20 minutes of you'll get to see the first 20 minutes of the documentary about the Hellfire Tour, where us, the Sams from District Sentinel Radio, and the Trillbillies went on tour around. Like it was we went to the DSA convention during it. There's a lot of stuff, and you'll be seeing that with us driving around on tour. You'll get the first 20 minutes of that on Halloween. And then I think in December is when you get the full show. And then 2 weeks after the full movie, you get you start getting the TV show. I do believe that is as far as I understand it, that's how that stuff is going to happen. But he's the one that talked to me about he said, hey, have you watched the Poppin' Boy, which is a show that the guys from Seriously Wrong did. And it's good. It's on Means TV. You should check it out. It's very funny. I watched it today. And it's really good. It's like, if you're listening to this show, you probably would really like it. And I said, no, I've never listened to their show or seen their thing, but people have been, telling us we should have them on or do stuff with them for years. And he got a hold of them and asked them, because I hint at what I want and then hope that somebody picks it up and does it. It's called passive aggressive, and maybe some of you should look into it. I think we should answer some phone calls. Enough of me, but I will say I'm semi-proud of myself currently, because we are 13 minutes into the show. I haven't taken a call, and the show doesn't suck as far as I can tell. I'm able to do longer periods of time without taking calls. So that's something by myself. Let's do it. Thank you for calling Street Fight. Don't talk yet. Real quick. Is the first call Hank or Bear? In the chat, they're asking Timmy Fireball. I would love to help, but it's a cheat if I do it. So don't talk. Person on the phone, everybody type in the chat right now who you think it is, and I will get you in the second person that's on the phone. Do not talk. Don't cheat, okay? We got a Hank. We got two Hanks. And then a Bear, Hank. Okay, you can talk, caller. Who are we talking to tonight? Uh-oh. I can't hear him. You're allowed to talk now.
Hank.
It's Hank. Hey, everybody, it's Hank. It was Hank. All the Hanks win. How's it going, Hank?
Maniac. Going crazy out there. Good. Thank you. That was fun. I did a drum roll. That's what the noise was. I don't know if the mic picked that up or not. But yeah, man. I've become my greatest fear, which is to be predictable. So I apologize to everybody. I'm going to have to up my chaos points. You know,
With the
I don't want to be
sneak. You
predictable.
gotta
I don't want
sneak.
nobody predicting my moves.
You got to be sneaky. Yeah,
I gotta
I mean, here's the thing. I know if it's you or Bear, and I'm going to tell you why. Because I can tell how many times you've called on the screening program, on the call screening program. I see how many times you've called, and you and Bear have roughly. I think Bear has a little bit more than you, but you guys have a higher number of calls. Like, because there's one person that's called twice, one that's called 3 times, and the other people have never called. So
good. That's good. You're dialed in. You got the forensics, the powers of deduction.
that's what I do.
The
I know you were on hold last week, Hank, and I'm very sorry to have wasted your time.
No, I try to get on early because I my nerves go a little crazy while I don't like being at the end, which I mean that's fine, but I just it's a better emotional experience to get it out of the way, you know. It's more fun to listen to the show afterwards. So I just call in without even really seeing that you're online, and it answered, and then I check your Twitter after about 10 minutes, and you guys got robbed, and I was like, fuck. So that sucks.
Yeah.
I had a
funny.
Go ahead.
It was pretty funny because well, not funny, but I come walking in and it's like I go walking in and I'm like, did Brett take everything? But that would have been so pointless for him to do because I was totally 100% willing to. Well, I had told him I wanted to give him all the equipment because I don't really need it for what I'll be doing. You know what I mean? And I feel like shit that it got taken because I don't know. You know how it is. I mean, he is being paid out for a while, like for a long time. So it's not like he's getting nothing. But in my mind, I feel like, you know, I got everything. So who knows? I don't know. That's just in my mind that you know, not his or anybody's. So my mind is always harshest on me as a person.
Yeah, your brain likes to pick up that and play with that awkwardness, even if it's not true. You'll just sort of think about it because the timing is just weird. Because you know, it's like you guys are a divorcing couple, sort of, and then a big kit of stuff gets robbed, and that just adds a lot of weirdness to the whole situation. So
it's funny because it's like
go.
It's well, I'm saying it's first of all that delay that was there because we were going through a few computers. Now we're just going through 2 computers. Jason is hosting it and I'm doing it. So I think it's very I think the delay is going to go away a little bit. But what I was going to say is that like you know, I don't know. It's hard. You know, I've been with the same woman since I was 19 years old. So I've never done any. What I'm saying is I've never done anything like this other than when I quit my job, which I actually last night was hanging out with my buddy Aaron. For people that listen to Everything Elite, the wrestling podcast I used to do, was Aaron Bentley. He's a sweet guy. He's actually been on the show a few times. He's a lawyer that helps incarcerated people. You know, with whatever incarcerated people would need. And you know, I don't know what his girlfriend or wife does, but they're quitting their job so that they can sell vintage clothes. And I was like so super happy for them, you know. I even gave them a bunch of my old Hypebeast shirts that I had that I was just going to get rid of anyway, so that they could sell them and make a decent amount of money. I mean, you can they're very faded, but they were like, oh no, people like faded. And I'm like, that's different from when I grew up. You did not like faded. And so I gave them some shirts that I think they're going to be able to make a pretty decent amount of money off of, like faded Supreme shirts and Neighborhood and Bape and some stuff like that. And they were telling us what they were gonna do, and I felt like I like was hanging out. We hung out with them last night. Me and my wife got food with them. We hung out at their Airbnb, and because they were like right in the neighborhood. And then I walked home. We walked home from the Airbnb because we lived like right around the corner from where the Airbnb was. And I laid in bed all night thinking about how annoying I was while we were hanging out with them. I could not stop thinking about how annoying I it's like I had to be the most annoying fucking guy in the world. So I just am a guy that I just think I don't know. I think it's possible that like I am almost cured of whatever it is, but I do hate myself. But I'll get you guys. I will actually say the name of the site when he gets those shirts up if you're interested in some it's like Antisocial Social Club Palace. I think he's keeping the Bape shirt I gave him. And it's all real. It's I bought it on StockX, so it's been verified. And Supreme. So if you're into that stuff, I think he's going to be selling some soon, and I don't think he's going to sell it for extremely tons of money. So it's a little something for you. So what's up, Hank? How you doing?
I'm doing good. I'm sure they were all up at night that night talking and thinking about how annoying you were too. I'm sure all the
I
other
agree.
people, the three others, they were just you
think I'm
ruined
annoying,
four
Hank.
people's night. So that they
I
hate
think
you
that
and
what
that you're
makes-
annoying, and they stop to each other.
I have
or
a
sleep
theory,
talking to
Hank.
each other.
I actually have a theory, Hank.
You suck.
That
You're so
what makes me I think that what makes me good at what I do is also annoying. It's like that I am annoying. That and I think that's like everybody who does it. I think that like okay, I have met a ton of musicians on all levels of the music industry. And the lead singers that I've met, not anybody that plays instruments. Actually, no, that would be untrue because Riley Gale was incredibly nice to us, and he was a lead singer. But the musicians seem fairly normal. They don't bug me. They're not as annoying. But almost everybody that I've met in comedy and is like just by virtue of what they do, you're just kind of like, okay, yeah, we can't hang out all day because we're both going to go insane because we just, there's something about people who want to be the center of attention that a lot of them can't hang out together at the same time.
Yeah, it's like some birds are like group birds, and some birds are like live by themselves birds, and like I think that's what that is. It's like they have weird. I also know a lot of comedians from my origins in the entertainment world, and so I kind of understand what you're saying in a way that is pretty deep. I share your viewpoints on myself. Like I've also often worried about things or being annoying or having said the wrong thing or being the awkward person or being the guy at the party who wanted them to turn the music down because I get overwhelmed by that kind of shit too, like very easily. And like I've often thought like too, like if in a dating situation, for instance, someone I would date, either I'm very annoying or very funny. You know what I mean? Like if you get my sense of humor and my kind of vibe, I can bring it for you. Although I'm not one of those assholes that's always on. I find that like that's like the most insufferable kind of comedian to be. But I'm really funny. But if my vibe isn't working, if you're not catching my frequency, then I'm super annoying. Then I'm just kind of like a weirdo who has a bunch of strange opinions and odd impulses and all kinds of stupid shit to say. So yeah, got to find the right people.
I quit stand up.
You're not annoying
because
you did. Yeah.
I quit stand up
Go ahead.
because I found the other comics to be annoying, and not because I don't think I care that they were on necessarily, because I do think like, so the Hellfire tour where we were at the Trillbillies and the Sam, one of the most fun 18 days of my life. You know what I mean? We're hanging out with a bunch of people we have a lot in common with, and having fun and goofing off. But something I hated when I was doing stand up was that a lot of the comics didn't like talk to you like they're human being, like they talk to you like they were doing their bit to you. And there would be a lot of times where we'd be sitting at a table and a guy would just come up and be talking to us for like, 15 minutes, and we're like, oh, we're having a really good conversation, and then he would go on stage and say the same shit that he said to us while we were having the conversation. We're like, oh, this guy's really funny and interesting. And then he goes on stage and does the same shit. And he's like, well, motherfucker was doing his act to us. That's the most ruthless thing you can do. So I always hated that. I just made me so I could not stand my peers in that world. The podcasters are a little bit different because, a lot of us started I'm somebody that this happened to too, because I podcasted for like 3 years before I did stand up, doing something totally different. And I started podcasting because I was afraid to do stand up. Like I was afraid to get on stage. So like I felt like, well, the career path in 2011, 10 was a little bit different than it is now, but I sort of felt like, well, if we do a really good podcast, somebody will hire us to be on the radio. And that's why a lot of the early years of this show were so like local, and like they were a little more Ohio centric, because it just kind of felt like, well, if we can get a job on the radio, they'll like pay us enough to pay our fucking bills. But the whole time I was thinking that, I was thinking like, I don't want to do morning radio. I don't want to get up that early in the morning. That's something I am intimately familiar with, is morning radio, and that shit starts at, well, I actually don't know what time it starts at 6, so you got to get to work at like, you got to get up at like 2:30 in the morning. I ain't fucking doing that. That's no life. It's stupid too that they do it now anyway. But yeah, I wanted to work on the radio so fucking bad. I wanted to be in a studio, and then it happened. Like what happened. I ended up making a living doing this, and it wasn't in any way how I pictured it at all. What the job was, like none of it was how I pictured the job, which I think is the funniest thing in the world for me to think about now, is what I thought a job in entertainment would be is not actually that. It's the, I've said this before, but I thought, you'd see the comedians, you'd see Seinfeld, you'd see, fucking, I don't know, all the comics that were famous at the time, and I'd be like, man, they must be in meetings like all day and all night. They just running from here to there, from here to there, and it's like, no, they don't fucking do anything. They basically sit around all day and think, wouldn't it be funny if, which is fun. I love that. That's a great job.
That's like so I started out doing stand up in 2009 in Chicago, and I did it like 5 or 6 nights a week for 4 years before I moved to Los Angeles. And that turns out that was a giant mistake. I probably should have. I can look back now and say that I would have had a much better life if I had stayed in Chicago. But yeah, so like I've been around a lot of these kind of situations you're talking about, like stand up and sitting around hanging out with. So everything you're saying is really resonating. I've often also fantasized about having that kind of security of a successful like stand-up job, or meaning like where you're headlining and you just have to sit around and think about what you want to say. I know those years are sort of over, like every comedian now is always online and making content and tweeting and podcasting. I mean I'm sure some are able to spend the days, like I bet Brian Regan probably has pretty decent days, nice lunches and stuff before he goes on his big shows. But that seems awesome. But like, I'd also love a job on the radio. I started podcasting in 2010, and I've always just had this brain that it seems fit for like talking and all that stuff. But on the other side of like this is all the technical crap that you got to learn, like plugging shit in, turning stuff on, and then video editing, and then putting crap on YouTube and Twitter and everywhere else. So I've got all those skills because I worked with the Young Turks and I did a whole bunch of stuff that way. So I'm still sort of plugging away at it all, but I've also been stumbling over all my own mental problems over the last several years. A lot of them kind of similar to the stuff you talk about, like feeling awkward and hating yourself. Like I hate booking people on my show, and like I can't stand doing. I mean, I do it, but like I would love to just sit down and talk, and then someone else does all like the posting it and putting the crap up and all that stuff. Because I very much like over how I'm going to fuck everything up, and I get in my head. But like, do you ever think like, would you like a job like a daily Monday? I know you said you wouldn't want to get up in the morning, but would you prefer what you're doing as a podcaster? Because I look at like Chapo. What are they? I mean, I know they do stuff between shows and stuff, but two or three episodes a week for the kind of money they make, that seems like that's preferable than a 5-day-a-week radio career. You know, plus
I mean,
different special projects,
yeah,
things that kind of come along.
yeah,
with
but
that success.
Yeah, it's different though for guys like that. Even I'm on such a lower level than those guys, even though we're like
Right.
friends and stuff. People think that it's like a super, I just, you do 3 shows a week and that's it. And it never works out that way. It doesn't work out that way for me a lot of times. Like it doesn't work out for me to just work 2 days a week, which is all that I generally would have to do. Well, 3 days a week. I always have some other thing that has to get done, I have to very much like, I have to make sure that, I don't know, I always have something. I always have another show to do. It's fucking crazy that I'm always doing a guest spot or something like that. And it's it is like it's fun a lot of times, but sometimes you get just so tired of it. You just want to, like, when I'm done doing this show and I go in my room and lay down, I feel like I just went to work, I'm beat.
Yeah.
There's something about like talking like this that isn't like the kind of talking you do at a party or anything, and it is usually you're talking more, and I'm just beat by the time I'm done. And those radio guys, they were doing much longer shows than I am, and but they had staffs. They like all had a staff, and but yeah, it's the feeling that the time you start to feel like you start to get you just feel tired. You just want to fucking lay down as soon as you're done. And it is funny. Dog Huffer in the chat said the secret is coffee, but the thing is, like, I record during the day more now, but generally record at night. So I can't drink coffee or anything with caffeine in it because I won't be able to fucking go to sleep. And I generally get done and I just go fucking lay down in my bed and watch. Right now I'm watching like foreign true crime documentaries. For some reason,
Wow.
so into them. Yeah, like I'm watching this one about a Norwegian cop. That is like also I don't know exactly what he did. Oh, drug smuggling, hash. He was smuggling hash, and I fucking love it, man, because it's like Norway. I don't even, half the time I don't even know what the fuck they're talking about. You know what I mean? Like half the time they'll be bringing up some Norway shit, and I'll be like, they'll be like, yeah, this section of the Norway police. And I'm like, well, I don't know what the Norway police do. I don't know shit about Norway. But the documentary kind of makes me want to go to Norway now, even though the weather. So I watch these 2 things. Okay. I watch these 2 things. I watch Yeah. I'm not trying to figure foreign true crime and foreign sports documentaries. And the foreign true crime is always the weirdest stuff. And but I'm also watching a show called Bad Sisters on Apple TV Plus, one of my streaming services. And it takes place in Ireland. And I'll say this, it takes place in Ireland, and the weather there does not look good to me. It looks like it's a little bit windy there, which I hate wind. You know what I mean? Wind is the worst shit in the world to me. I wish there was no such thing as wind. It just looks like fall there all the time. So, people want to know about my foreign true crime documentaries. God, okay. One's called Mr. Good. I think it is. It's on Netflix. And another one is called one of them's called Killer Ratings, and it takes place in Brazil. It rips because it's about a guy. So this guy has a TV show, and the gimmick of the TV show is that, like, hey, I fuck these criminals. You know what I mean? It's like a reactionary TV show about crime. And somebody started to notice, and the guy that is on the TV, the host of the TV show, is in whatever their House of Representatives is. You know what I mean? I don't know the name of it. But he's in it. He's a representative. And he's the host. And basically, like, they started to notice that, like, this TV show was showing up to crime scenes. This TV show guy was showing up to crime scenes, and the motherfucker is like there first, and they find out that there's a good fucking chance that he's having the people killed so that he can get there first. And it's like the fucking craziest thing, but it also that's framed like he could have been framed by a guy that was running a pedophile ring, which is just nuts. It is a Killer Ratings is good, but I do love the idea of a guy that's like, oh man, not enough good crimes happening. I'm gonna go make some crimes. It was like a son, I think, was shooting people and shit. There's another one. There's one more. It's a Mexican one about a woman who was sold like weight loss creams, where she would say, like, rub this on your tummy and in 3 weeks it'll be gone. And like people started to be like, yeah, I would buy it. People started to be like, I think that's a scam. And she got in trouble a few times for like embezzlement and shit like that. I don't know. It's just true crime in America is like, it always feels to me like they're like, oh, the police don't miss nothing, or the police miss everything, but they're still trying the best they can. You know what I mean? Like that. It's the two true crime stories in America are the police are doing the best they can, but they can't get everything, or the police fucking get everything. And it's just, not as good. Whereas if you look at other country, when you look at other countries, it's like they're just like, and this is me as an American saying this, but it's like people don't have, in other countries, it doesn't seem like they have the same faith in their police that we do. Not me particularly, not, or the listeners to this show, but you know what I mean, right?
Yeah, the propaganda here is like paramount. It's like part of our culture.
Yeah, and it is like you'll never get away with murder. Is the thing that, like, you always like, I don't know. It's like when somebody robs a bank and you're trying to like, you're like, how many people get, like, how many people? So okay, the street fight office got robbed, right? They got away with it, and like, I would think that most robberies like that, they just get away with it. It's not even a big deal. How would they ever get caught?
Well, maybe if some motherfuckers would write down the serial numbers, maybe we'd have a chance of fighting back against these scoundrels.
Oh, I don't want him to go to jail anyway. You know what I mean? Like, I've been robbed before at gunpoint and didn't tell the cops anything. I'm just not a guy that, like,
What if they
I
start
just,
better podcast and it like kills and they're like, we are using Street Fight Radio's gear for our podcast.
I fucking
That'd be
kill him
weird.
then. Then I'm calling the police and throwing him in jail. Yeah, no,
There you go.
I just like, I love stuff. I love having that stuff, and I thought it was neat. But honestly, like, that office was incredibly powerful. You know, like it was so much because it needed to handle two things. You know what I mean? It needed to handle me and Brett. And at this point, it's not necessary for either one of us. I would have liked it if he could have sold it and kept the money for himself. But
Yeah.
you know, it just
I hear
it got taken.
it's gone. It sucks. What do you think about? I know I've been on a while, by the way. There's probably more people in the queue. I don't want to
We got a queue,
keep
yeah.
going.
But you can talk to me,
Yeah.
Hank. I've been taking you off topic.
That's okay. I'm not. I have a couple things to talk about. I'm taking care of a stray cat that I think would be fun to talk about. But actually, since you're talking about true crime, I'll call back and tell you about this cat. It's got a lot of adorable little moments to warm everybody's heart. And I can also update people about my workers' comp situation, since that's like a worker thing that might be interesting. My wrists are fucked up for my woodworking job. But just since we're talking about true crime, and then I'll take your answer off the air. Jeffrey Dahmer on Netflix. An ex-girlfriend told me not to watch it, but because it's intense. But I was too curious. I tried it out, and I don't really like horror or like thriller violence sort of stuff. It's actually gotten worse in recent years. It's just my imagination gets a hold of it, and I go a little crazy. I get overwhelmed and scared.
Yeah.
And so like it's not my style. I could watch it really good, but fucking Jeffrey Dahmer is intense, man. That show is, I'm not going to spoil it, but that show is freaking like not for the faint of heart. So I'm wondering if that's your style, or at least maybe how does an American story like the Jeffrey Dahmer story compare to the foreign ones that you're watching? And I'll take your answer off the air, Brian. Goodbye, everybody.
Sweet.
Love y'all. See ya.
Hi, Hank. I will talk about that just for a minute. Obviously, the foreign stuff to me is the better. Okay. So when I was in college, I wanted to go to grad school to study criminology, but I did not want to study serial killers or any of that shit. Like, you know the stuff. I wanted to study like lower level crime, robbery and shit like that. Robbery or burglary or like, that kind of shit. Like the lower level stuff is what I'm interested in. And a lot of the foreign stuff is about criminal organizations and stuff like that. I really hope I will try to, I'm going to take this next call. I'm going to see if I can get you guys the name of the Mexican one on Netflix that I did, because I truly, truly fucking love it. Also, by the way, I won't watch like Dahmer because I don't like I'm such a dick. I'm like, I don't want to watch the hacky serial killers, like the one everybody already knows. Hello, you're on Street Fight. What's up?
Hello. Fine.
Hello?
Can you hear me?
Well, yes, now I can. I couldn't there for a minute, but I can hear you
Sorry.
now.
Hello.
What's going on? Who's this? I'm great.
This is Eric. This is my first time calling in. I've been a fan for like 2 or 3 years now. I'm thrilled to talk to you. How's it going? How's your weekend?
Great. Good. Yeah, I got to hang out with a buddy from a group chat that I've been in for a very long time. So it was kind of it was very fun. I love Aaron, and I don't know. I had a good time. I walked 40 miles over the weekend. So that's
okay. You're
good.
You're walking. So the 7 years I was in the town that I lived in last, where I had no car, your walking distances are like Herculean to me. I have no idea how you walk the distances that you walk in a day and just like nonchalantly are like, yeah, that's whatever. Like I would go psycho at like 10 miles. I
Oh
would
no,
like
it's not bad. It's not bad, really. If you do what I do for, I mean, when I say do what I do, I'm talking about like Shocktober, Holy
yeah.
Boys, the things where I have to listen to a ton of audio. I mean, it's better than sitting somewhere and listen to it. You know what I mean? I find that
Yeah, fair enough.
like I'm walking for 8 hours, but I'm listening to fucking Tom Likas for the whole 8 hours and writing down
Okay.
timestamps.
If you're ever gonna be listening to like shock jocks, it might as well be when you're like frantically walking at like 10 miles an hour and just trying to focus on something else because like they're just saying the most inane psycho shit of all time that you're
It's
just
true.
like, whatever, I'm just gonna keep going.
I got that doc name. Actually got a couple of them here for you. I got my Netflix opened up. It's called Fortune Seller, a TV scam. That's the fortune teller one, or fortune seller is the name of it. Killer ratings. There's one called Vendetta, and then the one I'm watching now is called Mr. Good, Cop or Crook. And there's a
Europeans
bunch.
love their cop dramas.
Yeah, the Florence Cassay affair is another one. Like there's a ton of the Great Robbery of Brazil's Central Bank is another one. You just sort of have to like there if you start watching them, they'll give you a foreign crime thing,
I'm sure there's
and you can find them.
I'm sure the algorithm has just like a million shows lined up for you. Like the second you watch some Norwegian guy, putting his hand in like a blood trail in the snow, it's like, buddy, I got more shows than you could ever fucking hope to watch.
I just like seeing their like I really 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 like seeing how their stuff works, because when you live in the United States, another thing you hear a lot is like every other country system is corrupt but ours isn't, and that's just not true.
Yeah.
Ours is
Just
very
like
corrupt.
the idea of corruption is just such bullshit that like it's just the humanity of the story that comes through in the show, where it's like, okay, well, if anything's going to happen, it's just human individuality, it's just human decision making. It's not like the idea that like, oh, this person has this job, so they wouldn't let this happen. It's like, well, that's some made up bullshit. That's not a thing.
Or the thing, just the thing of like, and I think this is something that frustrates me quite a bit, is the thing where like you watch a documentary about American crime and they talk about how it's like when I learned about stuff growing up, I guess is what I'm saying, is that like in Mexico they're more corrupt than we are by like a lot. Like that most of Mexican I mean, our cops are corrupt as fuck anyway, but that like
that's just like
Mexico's police department,
the powers that be, just like the way that things are run, whether it's because the U.S. tells them to do this that way, or whether it's because it's just like that's what happens when you have less money in general as a society, or like as a area or whatever. It's like, okay, well, it's very easy to like offload any bad decision making onto like, well, that's just corruption. Well, it's like, do you think that shit doesn't happen in New York City?
Yeah, exactly. Like all of our police departments are horrific and so fucking corrupt and nasty, and they get away with fucking everything. And it just, to me, to see like, for me to see a lot of these shows where you're like, I mean, listen, on American True Crime, they talk to cops.
Yeah.
And the cops on the American True Crimes are exactly like the ones on the other true crime shows. Like, there's no fucking difference between a Brazilian cop and an American cop. They're all fucking cops. And I think
cops
that's
are pretty
something.
similar.
Yeah, that's the thing. But they treat it. They don't. But that's not how it's looked. I fucking told my parents that, next year, me and my wife are gonna drive from Vancouver to Mexico, and my parents were like,
"Quite the
"Well,
drive."
yeah, it's gonna be great though. It'll be very fun. Like we've always wanted to. Not we. I've driven down the West Coast before. That's something that
I was born in California, and I went to school in Washington State for a long time, been to Oregon many times. There are many ways to go from Vancouver to Mexico that look like dog shit, and there are many ways to go from Vancouver to Mexico that are just beautiful. Like literally, you couldn't be, like heaven couldn't be as beautiful as this drive. So like as long as you know where you're going, as long as you have a good time, as long as you plan it out a little bit, literally couldn't be more pristine than that, you know.
Yeah, we just want. I did it on tour twice. We did it twice on tour, and it was incredibly fun. But my wife didn't go on tour with me, so I want to do it with her. And there'll be money freed up in the Street Fight organization. There will be money that will be paid. I mean, I'll be paid myself a lot more. And I just want to do it. I just want to make the drive I want my wife to experience the drive. And
there's actually a train. Sorry to cut you off. There's actually a train that goes from fucking Seattle or someplace down to like San Diego through Amtrak. But it's like taking the train in America is like the most oppressive, Byzantine experience of all time. That like good luck ever making that happen. But it's actually a really scenic, beautiful route. And ostensibly, you can make that. You can make that. Yeah, I mean, like, who wouldn't in America? Who wouldn't love to take a beautiful West Coast train ride? But it's just like that's just not gonna happen. I don't know.
I'm so frustrated actually because like, my daughter has a friend. This is gonna sound made up now because of all the shit I've talked about. My daughter has a very good friend in Norway, and that is from
the Norwegian connection.
Norway. Yeah, that's probably why I kept bringing up Norwegian stuff.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Because it's like my daughter has this Norwegian friend that just left town yesterday, and we're talking, and she's like, she just left town yesterday, and she's like, yeah, there's no airport close to her house, so she had quite a trip even once she got off the plane. And I was like, how long's the drive? And she was like, well, it happens on a train. And I'm like, oh, wouldn't that be nice? Fuck, I don't know how long it was, but a train being
can you believe on an American who doesn't live between like New York and DC, can you imagine like factoring a train into your commute? Or like you're like, it's just not gonna happen. You just wouldn't ever think of it.
Yeah, I mean, we had a governor in Ohio for a lot of maybe the 2000s that very much was like, I'm gonna get a train that goes from Cleveland to Columbus, or Cleveland, Cincinnati, and then Chicago, and they saying like a bullet train.
Even across one state, it's like, I'm gonna do it. Like, okay,
they didn't get it done. He did not. As soon as the next mayor came in, they were like, that shit ain't happening.
He fucking couldn't pull it off.
No, they do say that they're building whatever Hyperloop means. They're saying there's going to be one, and
Hyperloop
just saying.
If it doesn't mean commuter train, or like, it's like, if it's not a very basic term, you can just write it off. Like Hyperloop is nothing.
I don't
like, if that's anything, it's going to be a train.
Nobody knows what Hyperloop even means. That's the fucking thing about people. It's like, we don't know what any of this stuff means. I remember when
Hyperloop
Elon
means what fucking Space Link or whatever else that Elon Musk is doing. It's like, what do you think it means? It's bullshit. Forget it. It's fucking nothing. Who cares?
It's the thing with Elon though is like, I remember before I was like really turned on everything and just black pilled, I guess is what they call it.
Yeah.
Before all that happened, Elon talked about the thing in the tunnel gimmick in
Yeah.
Las Vegas.
Oh, it's
You know what
the
I'm
same
talking about?
shit, you
That
know?
tunnel gimmick?
Yeah, of
And
course.
I finally saw the motherfucking tunnel gimmick, and it's the dumbest thing that's ever existed. And I
course.
think you
Of
have
course,
to
because
have a
guess what?
Tesla to use it.
When they invented trains back in 1830, that was kind of the whole deal. That was kind of all you needed to like learn about it. Like there's no extra variable on top of basic competent transportation that you need to add that would make it any more like logical solution than just fucking doing it right the first time. You don't have to have it underground or go 900 miles an hour or have it go fucking 100 feet in the air or it's all automated. It's like, no, fuck, if you just let poor people use it cheap, then it's good actually.
Yeah, that's something I've that's something I've been saying a lot, like about you know, if it was a very fast train, like if it really was one of these bullet trains that they say can get you to
Yeah.
Chicago in 2.5 hours or something, I sort of feel like things for and maybe even like, you know, people with more money pay for tickets and poor people don't have to pay, or
Yeah.
or some kind of thing like that. I think that would be like great, because I just like, one of the things I think about a lot is like, man, if I could get to Chicago in 2 hours and then get home in 2
If you can
hours,
get from
I would.
Chicago to anywhere on a train, you'd fucking do it. You know?
And I
Like-
I would work more. I would do more shows and shit like that if I could get to Chicago that easily. It's a 6-hour fucking drive, and I got to stay in a hotel and all that shit. I mean, I don't know what my
But the thing
what's
is-
the word?
Yeah.
I just don't know what my
the thing
live
is,
thing's gonna
if it's-
be. But
Yeah.
go ahead.
If it's
Sorry.
like in the U.S., if it's not highway or air transportation, they will put up so many roadblocks to you having that be like the thing to do. Even if it's like a straight shot, even if they have a fucking rail with one train a day that fits your perfect schedule and it's in your budget or whatever, and it goes exactly from Chicago to Columbus, and there's nothing between there. There's no freight trains that slow it down or whatever. Well, then guess what? It's going to be that week is the week that they're going to be like changing service, or like Amtrak is just going to be like, sorry, we just don't have enough trains for that day, so we're just not going to do it or whatever. It's like that's not really how it it works, but like it's just like we're the only like quote unquote Western, whatever the fuck that means, like modernized industrial country that just like insists that you have to drive or fly. Like it's all up to you, you know.
I fucking hate it. That's the thing too. I truly I don't mind. I'm a guy that doesn't mind driving, obviously, but it would be so much better if I could read, or all the stuff that you can do on a train when you plug your headphones in and you're just
lovely.
by yourself.
What a beautiful experience. What a cathartic way to spend. Let's say it takes twice as long to go from Columbus to Chicago on a train that it does on the highway. Well, guess what? You're on a train. You're on a lovely, manicured. It's like there's some ambient noise. You're in public with other people who you are fellow citizens with, and you're enjoying this sort of like communal experience, and you're not just locked into your little fucking metal death trap listening to Korn for the 1000th time trying to stay alive for 6 hours until you get there.
Yeah, and the thing about it is that, and it makes me fucking it drives me up the fucking wall, is that like mass transit sucks in most of the United States. Specifically, I can only speak to Columbus.
Purpose, because
that's exactly
it's only
it.
for the poor people.
Yeah, and it just fucking sucks that you can't get anywhere on the train, on the buses. You got to make 18 different fucking transfers. The buses take forever, and it sucks. So when when somebody's like, "Hey, you guys, do you want trains?" People are like, "Mass transit fucking sucks," and you're like, "Fuck you,
Like
man."
that's
Of
the
course
whole
it
idea behind the
sucks.
fucking Elon. Yeah, of course it sucks because you're the motherfucker who fucking took all the good parts away. But like that's
Yeah.
the part with with Elon. It's like that's the whole. I mean, like really think of the hyperloop, or no, sorry, not the hyperloop, the whole tunnel thing. Like really think about the the incentive behind that. Like what would you have to think is the biggest problem of transit to come up with that as the solution? It would have to be that there's other people around and that you can't just
Yeah.
go from A to B instantly, you know? And so
That
like
tunnel
of
gimmick
course
is
it's just a
dumb.
dog shit solution for a problem that shouldn't exist in the first place. But it's like, okay, well, maybe being around other people is actually good, first off. But also, like, maybe you made it suck because you're the rich guy who wouldn't fucking, you know, who took away the bus lane and like took the taxes away from your town to where no one can take the fucking bus. And all of a sudden, of course, it's fucking late. Of course, it's showing up. You know, of course, there's only 3 routes and you have to walk 3 miles to get there. And it's only four times a day. It's like, yeah, I can't go to work on that bus because guess what? You're the motherfucker who wanted to build a highway and you know, whatever. But
And Vegas is a place that would really benefit from some sort of even just light rail or train in Las Vegas, because
yeah,
I mean that's a place where, like, I mean everything's relatively close together, but it's hot as fuck there, and like I just it would it that is a city that is hell to
there are a
me.
few more oppressive experiences in American socioeconomic life than waiting at a bus stop in America. Because fingers crossed, hand over your heart, hope to God that there's a fucking awning that you can stand under where
Yeah.
the shade doesn't berate you for 12 hours a day. Hopefully it's not raining. Hopefully it's not like you know. Hopefully your town gives a shit enough about your bus to where there's like 2 or 3 walls kind of just stand behind until it shows up an hour from now. It's like,
Yeah.
God damn, man. I don't know.
Yeah, it's
I
crazy. It's
hate to
fucking nuts.
talk your ear off too long. But
Well, yeah, let
this
me
is
know what you called for though.
my segue is that speaking of mass transit, my good buddy Adam, who turned me on to Street Fight in the first place, he forced me to kind of drag me to come along to the Street Fight live show with Block Party back in I think 2019.
Nice.
And he actually is a public city bus driver in Tacoma, Washington, and he's a huge Street Fight fan. He was like, before the Chapo shit, before anything. I'm sure he's been listening since 10 years plus from now. But I met you and Brett back in that live show, and you guys were awesome. We talked for a little bit, and I was turned on to Street Fight from day one. This is my first time calling in. Love talking to you, buddy. Hope everything goes well from here on out, and I just hope that Adam gets the shout out that he deserves for turning me on to you guys. So yeah.
Thank you, Adam. I feel like I remember
Adam,
you,
you're the
but
boy.
obviously it's been
Maybe
years. But
there's no way that I talk as much as I am right now, but I'm just kind of amped up from calling it,
well, I'll see. Yeah, I think that like there is going to be some version of live performance at some point. I think I can make that happen. I have talked to Chris about me and him doing stuff together on the West Coast, and I think that could be really.
You were talking
I think people
earlier,
would love that.
You were talking earlier about how just nerve wracking it is to figure out even a guest appearance, let alone like setting up a whole thing. So like,
yeah, I can get that done though. My wife could set up the tour. I just don't know what the thing is yet, what the show would be. And the thing about working with Chris,
that show was so fucking fun. I don't know, it was awesome.
The thing about working with Chris and the thing about working with like Chris and John at doing it is that I have to get a lawyer to help them figure out how to legally do it instead of the way that we did it.
Probably dealing with Chris at all is just you got to go through a lawyer, man. I don't know.
It's just Canadians can get in trouble if they do it.
I believe that, but just like Chris especially is like, not only is he from a different country, but it's like I don't know. He's
an alien.
He's liable to catch some people, off guard or whatever.
Yeah, he's great. He's good, and I really
Well-
want to do fun stuff. I really want to do stuff with Chris. I want to do Shocktobers. I want to do stuff like that. I mean, I told him that next year, if I can, if there's money in the budget and everything, I think I do want to do the Shocktober wrap up show, like the
Lovely.
second week of November in Tampa, and then stream
Wow.
it live, because that's the Shocktober. That's the Shock Jock City. I think it would be really fucking funny
Yeah.
for me and Chris to stand on stage in
Of course,
Tampa.
Tampa's
and-
Shock Jock Mecca.
Yeah, and I'll also try to get Bubba to come. Like, that's the thing. I want Bubba the
God,
Love
how
Sponge.
cool
I want to
that'd be.
meet him. I want to meet Bubba the Love Sponge more than anything. Wait till you hear the episode that comes out Friday, because
funny,
I
so-
love him. I'm in love with Bubba. But
I'm
thank you
just
for
imagining
calling.
You with the yeah, of course. Brian, hopefully I'll call in later. Have a good one, man.
Call again anytime. You're great.
Love you.
Yeah, I've been toying with this idea of doing it. I want to do the wrap up, the Shocktober wrap up in Tampa so bad, and I've said this before. I'd pay Bubba $1,000 to appear at a live show with me. I think he'd do it, really, because we just got to catch him before his documentary comes out, because I think he's on his way back up, folks. And but I just for some reason like him. Let's answer this next call here. Hey, who am I talking to?
Hey, Brian, this is Jordan in Atlanta.
What's up, Jordan? How you doing?
Hey, I'm good. I have a topic, but on the topic of Shocktober and Shock Jock, I just wanted to say that the last time I called into a live stream of any sort or a live show was the Stern Show, probably in 2005.
Really?
Yeah, and
That would have been at Sirius, right?
Yes, that's right.
That's sick. That's cool. Did you
And
get
I was-
on?
I was just thinking, no, I never got on, and I was also thinking about, you do these shows about all these shock jocks like Opie and Anthony, but the thing is, as a big Stern fan, from the age of, I was probably 15 when I was first introduced to Stern. I'm 38 now, but he always would talk so much shit on every other shock jock that I never listened to anyone else.
Yeah. I mean, Bubba though, he gets along with. They're buddies.
Right, but that was only
I
later.
will-
That was only later in the serious years when he brought him on. He used to hit on Bubba too.
Yeah, well, I was saying that you'll hear it on the Gabrus episode, and I think he was in the same boat as me, is that like I was very much a Stern guy when I was a teenager, and then when I was like 22, I heard Opie and Anthony for the first time on the radio, the Voyeur Bus show, actually, and I just was like, I fell in love with them. Like, I just didn't even care to listen to Howard anymore. I was like an Opie and Anthony partisan after that point, because they just sort of felt like the more edgy show is the thing. But now that I'm older, and I'm not doing Stern this year, but there is a YouTube channel called the Gilbert Gottfried Archive Project, and it is their archive. They're doing every Stern show with Gilbert, and I've been listening to it a lot lately, and fuck, it's so funny. It's very offensive if you're listening to the show, and Gilbert Gottfried's one of the most offensive men to ever live. But yeah.
No, the Gilbert appearances, especially when during the Artie years, were just some of the most amazing, hilarious, offensive shows there ever were.
Yeah, and I'm like I mean, not in my life, you know what I mean? Like, I'm not like a guy who tries to be edgy in my real life or anything, but like, it's really difficult for me because of the guy that I was for a period of time in my life. I mean, I find offensive stuff funny, and like I don't want it to be offensive to like I like in my career, in my thing, I never want to make somebody feel bad, ever. Like, I don't want
Sure,
somebody to turn on my
sure.
show and feel like they're not included, and with the obvious exceptions of like Nazis and shit, but you know what I mean, like trans people, people of color and
Right.
people like that. I don't ever want them to like tune into the show and not feel like they're included in the show, and like I want people to feel decently good when they listen to the show. Obviously, like we talk about a bunch of stuff that could maybe make people angry, but like in my personal stuff that I listen to, I don't know. I'm still an edgelord. I'm still just
Yeah.
I mean, I don't listen to Rogan or anything like that. It's just like basically what I'm saying is I listen to old Stern a lot. I don't listen to old Opie and Anthony
Yeah.
because I don't know. Howard Stern to me now is a dude that like at least is like reckoning with his past, if that makes sense. You know what I mean? Like,
although but to your point, I don't find him, as much as little as I've listened to him in the last few years, he's, not without being offensive and without being, who he was 20 years ago, he's not nearly as funny. And I think to your credit and to, you and Brett for so long was that you guys are not offensive and you take care to not be, and yet you're still very funny. And it's kind of, there was a point I transitioned from listening to Stern for, maybe 15, 20 years to listening to you, Chapo, this whole, universe. And you guys became far more funny to me than at least Stern in, the last 10 years.
Yeah, I mean, he's not like great now. I can't listen to the show anymore. It's just too like, it's like a Randy Rainbows show or like John Fugelsang hosting a show. It's not the same thing it used to be, but like you go back, if you go to the Internet Archive, I hate to say this stuff out loud on the air because he is very much like a DMCA guy, but
super litigious.
Yeah, and you go to that archive.org, they have every episode of Stern from like fucking 97 to like 2014 on there. And you can listen to, you can go online and look up who was on the show, what days on the Howard Stern blog for the site, and then you can listen to that show on the Internet Archive. And I just like that's kind of what I listen to if I'm just in the mood for something really funny. And there are podcasts that I listen to that aren't super I like YKS. I don't think is an edgy show, but I think it's very funny. But yeah, I don't know. I'm such in the heat of Shocktober that like somebody says anything about a shock jock and I will talk forever about him. So
and we can move on from Shocktober in a minute. I attended Rutgers University during the Imus controversy, or during at least the Imus comments about the basketball team.
Did you hear? Did you hear the "I'm sorry" we did where we played Imus's full apology? That was so fucking fun, and that kind of thing. When we're talking about whatever the call-in show turns into, I'll be taking calls, but I'll also be doing more long-form video stuff too. Like, have the video running and then take calls and talk about it and stuff like that. Just a lot more dynamic. I think I want people to be able to participate in. Basically, it'll be me doing a stream that other people can participate in, and that's exciting to me. But yeah, that's incredible.
Yeah, and when that happened, and being a Stern listener at the time, it obviously had, took on a different gravity knowing Imus's background as a Stern listener. But I think if you didn't really know about Imus from Howard, it was kind of a different situation too.
Oh, I agree. And you know what's funny is, man, you listen to that motherfucking you listen to that thing, the Stern thing, at that time, and he was more offensive to me. He was more offensive. His stuff was a little bit more offensive, if that makes sense. You know what I mean? Like, because there is a
Yeah, no, of course.
supercut. There is a supercut on YouTube of there's a supercut on YouTube of Howard Stern talking about the Imus thing, and I never heard the M word so many times in my life.
Yeah,
Like, it was fucking, it's crazy to listen to. I listened to it last year thinking that, like, okay, or 2 years ago maybe, thinking I'm doing an Imus episode, and I'm doing an Imus episode, and I'm also doing a Stern episode. So maybe I can, do a little crossover shit
Match
there,
it up.
right?
Yep.
But no, there was not really anything I could play on Stern doing that stuff.
Just be a long thing of bleeps. Yeah.
Yeah, it was pretty offensive.
Well, I get that.
But
anyway, the reason I actually called was I was wondering if you have any kind of fall season or Halloween time activities that you like to do. I live in Atlanta, but I have a best friend in Columbus who turned me on to Street Fight years ago. And I've been up there for a few falls, and we've gone to the Fairborn Halloween Festival, I think the Circleville Festival. I was wondering if you do anything like that, if there's anything that you like to get into.
I used to go to the Haunted Hoochie a lot, which was a thing, but we did end up finding out that they have like a I don't know if it's a Nazi night or like people are supposed to dress like Nazis. So it's like, kind of like, I don't think I want to go back to that thing again. But like, I am not a holiday person. You know what I mean? Like, so like when it comes to something like a Halloween thing, it usually, when my daughter was a kid, we would go to, pumpkin stuff and shit, like the pumpkin festival. We go to the pumpkin patch, we do the whole thing. But now that she's 18 today, it's Gwen's birthday. She's 18 years old.
Happy birthday, Gwen.
Yeah, it's crazy. My kid's an adult. Awesome. I can do anything I want now. Trying to get her to get high with me.
You're
or
great,
take acid
almost.
with me. Or go to the gamble.
Hell yeah.
Go gamble. I mean, she can do all that stuff now. And I don't have to worry about going to jail for it. So she can get high now without me worrying, because it's always like, if she had an edible, I'd have to be like, yeah, we're gonna have to you cannot talk to anybody about this. But now it's a little easier.
Now it's all
but
open.
Yeah, I don't know. I my whole holiday thing for Halloween is watching horror movies with the wife. I think I'm gonna watch X and Pearl this year, and that new Halloween, because I've seen the other two, so might as well finish it out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I saw X. I haven't seen Pearl yet.
I haven't seen X. Yeah. What was the fucking thing I was just gonna tell you to do? Yeah, they got rid of all the stuff I did when I was young for Halloween, but if I was going to do something if I was out of town and I was going to do something around Halloween, I would check into what they do at that prison where Shawshank was filmed. Because I'll bet you they do something wild there.
Okay, I'll check on that. Yeah.
I'll look at, I don't
really
know the name of it.
Look it up. I was going to say, I'm not really a big holiday person in general either, but I just love the kind of fall time and period. And I just love, I want to say, like harvest festival type things. Shawshank Prison Halloween. Let's see if
I got it up here. It's the Ohio State Reformatory. Okay. They're open Thursday to Sunday, and you can just do a tour of the prison, but they also have a space on the site that says they're haunted and stuff like that. You could do the paranormal programs. I mean, that's the thing I would do. That seems it would be extremely haunted. So
that sounds pretty cool.
I would look into that.
Actually, on a kind of a weird note, I went to a thing called the Trail of Terror about an hour outside Atlanta last night. And it's not towards Bear, actually. So Bear is about maybe an hour and a half outside Atlanta. I think he's northwest of Atlanta, from what I understand. This was northeast, and it's out in kind of rural Georgia. And it was myself and a friend and this group of an East Asian family. And at one point on this trail, there was an actor who came up to the family who were kind of like running along the trail because it was, haunted and you're running away from chainsaw guys and clowns and stuff. And he said, "Why don't you guys run back to India?"
No.
Made for a really, really uncomfortable rest of the experience. Like you said, kind of like your experience with the haunted hoochie or whatever it was called. It's like, all right, well, I guess we're not coming back to this place again.
Yeah, I think a lot of the people that run those things maybe don't have the greatest politics, and they're
Yeah, well, yeah, I mean that makes sense. Except the people who act on it, and this one, the one particular guy who said this, he kind of seemed like more of a theater person. Like he was really into the character, and he had the whole act going on. So you don't maybe expect it from them so much as like the people who were running it. It was really jarring and just made for a weird experience.
That is fucking really weird. That sucks that he would do that. I wonder if he thought he was playing a character, but wasn't, obviously.
Yeah, I don't know,
That's
but
crazy.
I guess like I said, once you're outside of Atlanta and it gets rural, it gets a little dicey with the racism.
Oh yeah.
To be honest.
Yeah. Yeah, it's the same thing here. It's like, yeah, the haunted hoochie was in Pataskala, Ohio, so it's kind of out of town, and that was just the whole thing. So it was definitely a weird experience. There's been some other weird stuff, being handsy and stuff like that with teen girls and stuff, and it's just like not a great place to go. I mean, when they did my niece was at the night that was supposed to be the Nazi night, and she told us about it, and I went on their website and looked, and people were yelling at them for it, and they were just like, it's historical. I was like, okay,
That's
history
wild.
buff. Yeah, it was crazy. It made the
wild.
paper and everything. So, well, I got a full queue and only 48 minutes left. So thank you for calling.
Thanks, Brian.
Have a good night.
Young Chomsky says hi.
Oh, nice. I love him. Thank you. Peace. All right, we're going to okay. I got 1, 2, 3, 4 calls. Here we go. Hello. You're talking to Brian.
Hi, Brian. It's Matt.
What's up, Matt? How are you?
Hello. Yeah.
Hello. Can you hear me?
Weird. I'm also in Atlanta.
Really? I think we're going to have a lot of Atlanta people because I see Bear on the line too. So it's Atlanta time. Okay. It's Atlanta night. Great city. I love Atlanta.
Yeah,
so
also weird because like the last caller is talking about like the Halloween thing in Fairborn, and I'm I think be going to that next weekend.
In Ohio?
Yeah.
Is it Fairborn, Ohio? What is this thing?
Yeah.
Now you got me curious. I live in Ohio. I don't even know what this is. I'm very curious now.
No, I'm not going there for that. We have friends there. It's just like we kind of picked when we were going to Ohio because of that. Because we were going to go sometime this month, and it was like, oh, well, that thing's happening. We'll go then.
Oh, it's a festival. I don't know how close I am to Fairborn, and I'm going to use the worst app on the planet, Waze, to see. Maybe I have to go there. I've never even heard of Fairborn, Ohio. That's crazy.
It's like around Dayton. They've got a big Air Force base around there.
Oh shit, it's only an hour away from my house. I don't know. You might see me there. I could end up there. I'm going to tell my wife about it, and she's probably going to have... Oh, fuck, I'm in Gatlinburg next week. I will not be there.
I grew up near Gatlinburg.
Yeah. My brother and sister-in-law love, like, touristy vacation places, and they wanted us to go to Gatlinburg with them, and we were like, all right, well, we'll go to Gatlinburg. You know, I used to yell at nobody wanted to go on vacation with me because I would get furious because I was like, you know, I never been to New York, I never been to Chicago, I never been to Seattle, I never been to San Francisco, or LA, but I've been to fucking Hilton Head 7 times. But now I've, you know, kind of been everywhere. I don't mind going to Gatlinburg now.
Yeah, I grew up in Knoxville, and in fact, part of why I was calling is because there were 2 syndicated radio shows that ran in Knoxville. One of them was like I always hated. That was John Boy and Billy.
Oh, I know
But the
about
other one
them.
was
I know about
Mancow.
those guys. Yeah, well, you were lucky then. Yes, John Boy and
I
Billy,
was a
not
Mancow
great.
listener, in fact.
Oh my God, Chris would love to be talking to you right now if he wasn't at TwitchCon, because, I mean, I guess like if the choice
No.
is John Boy and Billy, I would say maybe you made the right decision, because Mancow's a psycho, and he's just as fun to listen to today as he was back then.
Yeah, and John Boy and Billy was always like a dog shit show. I hated that show.
What was John Boy and Billy? No, that's Waylon and something. Where there were 2 guys, but one of them did like a shitload of characters, and I hate to say it, but a lot of the characters were people of color, and woo, a little bit offensive.
Well,
actually,
John
I would
Boy
have
and Billy
to say.
did a bit of that too.
Oh yeah, I mean, it's all offensive, you know, but like it was just like, man, and I can't remember the name of my buddy Mike brought it up one time, and I was like, I know those guys, John Boy and Billy. I gotta look them up. Are they still doing it? Are they still out there doing it?
I think so. I don't know. Like, I mean, I haven't lived in Knoxville for like a few years now, but like, I mean, I know they were up until I left, basically. Like that show was still playing. I mean, it's not done. For the longest time, I assumed it was a local show because it sucked so bad. But,
Yeah.
I guess they do it out of Charlotte.
Holy fuck, they're still doing it, man. They even have a podcast called the Late Risers Podcast.
Oh God!
Wow, this is fucking wild. Their website. This is something that's going to start coming to the call-in show. By the way, I'm gonna like every week we're gonna try to do this as well as we can. We're gonna let people call in, tell me their hard rock radio station or local radio station. We'll go to the site and we'll take a look at it together and see what's going on there.
Oh, that will rule. That will rule.
I'm on John Boy and Billy's website right now, and it is, I don't know, man.
I can't
Not
believe
good.
that show's still going. Like, unbelievable.
They never ends. It is, for lack of a better term, it's welfare for radio guys now. There's a certain amount of radio guys that are going to get to okay, so Mancow, right? He obviously is like not making any money, but made a shitload of money. You know what I mean? At his time. John Boy and Billy, though, they have to keep their show on so that these guys don't like die and not have to get real jobs.
Yeah,
so
probably.
It's like it's sort of a radio welfare where it's like, all right, you know, we'll pay you whatever we they probably get paid like $100,000 a year if they're syndicated or whatever. We'll pay you until you die, but there's not going to be somebody to replace you.
Yeah, no way.
Like there's not going to be another show after John Boy and Billy that's like John Boy and Billy. There will never be. And it's just like there's going to be a certain amount of these like radio guys that just get to you know, they're the last of a generation, and they're never going to do it again, and they're never going to do, you know, it'll be pointless to do radio, you know. I mean, I do a podcast for a living, and if somebody came to me and said, would you like a radio show, I would say no. Like, no, I don't want to fucking do that. And I assume that's how, you know,
Yeah, you would have to be out
once
of
you
your
get to a
mind.
yeah, and once you get to a certain level, nobody would take that. Why would you want that? I wouldn't even go to fucking Sirius, dude. Like, if they were like, do you want an afternoon drive show on Sirius? I'd be like, you pay me $200,000 a year and I'll do it. But other than that, no, I'm fucking not. I don't want to work for people. I don't want to work for some fucking guy that's like telling me what I'm allowed to say, because like, I know that like a lot of the shock jocks complained about being censored, and you know, obviously they probably were censored, but I know for sure they would censor me. Like, because I do stuff that wouldn't be friendly for, you know, advertisers and shit like that. So I just wouldn't be able to do it. But yeah, I don't think that there's going. I feel like, and you know, I have this like theory of like, if somebody went to the if somebody like went and lobbied for the FCC to change the decency rules so that you could do uncensored radio over the air, which I don't think would be a problem, because I don't think kids are going to be listening to it, you know. If they could somehow
no
get
kid
that
is listening to the radio today.
exactly. So if there was some way that they could change that and sort of just like, I think radio stations might hire personalities to do stuff, and that I think like I think a lot of people would love to listen to radio, and that it could be like a really cool weird throwback medium that could exist. But I just don't think it's, you know, I just don't think that like the FCC will never hand over, you know, the censorship, and like radio stations are so risk averse that I don't think they would ever do it. But I do think there could be a place for FM
I
radio.
think we would get to the point where they're like, oh, we're going to use that bandwidth for more like cell towers instead of radio before that would ever happen. They'll just like be like, yeah, we're just not going to have radio anymore.
But think about how many people are like, think about how many people are listening to talk radio now. That's just not on the radio. Like the format is probably bigger than it's ever been, you know?
Yeah, I mean, that's what half of podcasts are.
Yeah, yeah. This is like one of the most popular formats in the fucking world now in all of entertainment. And like, if I think that if they hired personalities and paid them a decent amount of money and give them the resources that they used to give John Boy and Billy, or that they give John Boy and Billy, I think you could get, you know, people, you know, 30 and up to listen to radio again. But they're just not going to do it now.
Willing to bet, like, every city that's got a population of more than like 10,000 people's got at least two people better than John Boy and Billy.
Yeah, it's funny because this year I'm doing Bob and Tom, which is a show that has been recommended over and over again, and I kept saying I'm not going to do Bob and Tom because I don't think they're shock jocks. I don't think they did like shocking stuff. Then somebody sent me a message and they sent me a song they did called Prison Bitch, and I was like, all right, that's pretty fucking shocking. I guess they've just made it onto Shocktober because it was a nasty song. So they made it.
I never listened to them, but yeah, there was a guy I worked with at one point who, like, he was from Shock Jock Land, you know, Florida, and he used to listen to them apparently. Like I think he played like one of their bits, like in the like, I worked in like an optical lab. He like played it like one of their bits one time.
They're clean for they're clean for shock jocks is the thing. So yeah. Well, I want to thank you for calling. I still have a few I still have more calls, but thank you for calling. Have a good
Well,
night.
I'll call back with man cow stories at some point.
For sure. Look, the show's gonna be. You'll be able to do that. I promise. Peace. Bum, 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 ba, ba, na, na. All right, we got 3 calls left. I'm picking it up. Hey, you're on the air. It's me. It's Brian. Who am I talking to tonight?
Hi, Brian. It's Sean from Philly.
What is up, John? How are you? Is it John or Sean?
Sean.
Oh, what's up,
Sean,
Sean?
if
How are
wanna
you?
be really Philly.
Okay,
I'm
okay.
good.
What's up, Sean?
I will be very quick because I got 2 other calls. Basically, I've called in a couple times about teaching and unionizing.
Yeah.
The private school I work for. Yeah, the private school I work for.
Oh,
is part of
okay,
a
yeah.
National, yeah, a couple times. And the private school I work for is part of a national network or chain of schools that I don't feel comfortable naming.
A chain.
But basically, yeah, network is the word. But it's almost like a franchise model for high schools.
Yeah,
basically.
it's weird. I never heard of that. I have to look into that. Actually, I've never heard of it that way.
It's like you have to get you get the rights to whatever.
Let me. Can I just say something real quick?
Yeah.
Oh, I know. I said this on the
go for it.
show actually. That my daughter's tennis coach is a charter school teacher, and she goes to public school, not private school. And he talked to her about how woke it is to work at a charter school, and I was like, "Ooh." Well, and then I had to like try to explain it. So, yeah. But yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, you're fine. You're fine. It's education's weird. It's a weird place. Like you got like I used to work in public schools, and where it was mostly I think like 90% black students, and a 60-year-old white woman once told me that she was the light in the darkness for these children, unironically, and that she was there to drive Satan out of public schools.
That's great.
Like versus
they hate Satan.
Private school I'm at, like, yeah, they hate it. They hate him. And versus at this private school I'm at, where like most of us are under 30. I'm not under 30, but most of my teachers, like most of my coworkers, are, and we've all been pretty well radicalized by the last 6 years, and some of us by before that. But like, yeah, even like we're a private school, but most of us are, would be described as woke or whatever, like in this private school network. Education is just a weird place. It's a weird job. It attracts some weirdos.
Is there unionization going on?
Yeah, so I got more than 50% of our faculty to sign cards, and we sent a letter to our admin, to our board, and to our president in April or May, and were very politely denied, of course, after much prayerful discernment was the phrase. Not literal quote. So we wrote another letter with help from the local teachers union in town. They ignored that second letter. And so we were like, well, we can write letters all day. We're also a very small school. We're only 500 students, like 550 students. So I think it's like 32 of us. So like anyone who goes out and pickets would be, a target.
A lot. Yeah.
Yeah. And so we've decided to do what we call, like, we kind of took a page out of our students' playbook, who, after the George Floyd murder, all the many of the pages that were popping up, like Black and Brown at blah blah blah. Like these different schools, like these private schools, were having like reckonings, and universities were having reckonings about like what was it like to be a marginalized person on these campuses. Our students did that to us, and it humbled the absolute shit out of our school. Not to actually do anything meaningful, but to put up a DEI person who left after 8 months, like that type of thing.
Yeah.
Performative stuff, not real stuff.
You always hear that.
Yeah, go ahead.
I mean, I always hear that the DEI people, that's diversity and inclusion. Is that what it is? Person?
Diversity, equity, and inclusion is like the current iteration of it. It's gone over a couple. It used to be D&I, now it's DE&I. We're talking about the same stuff, right?
So I have heard, God damn it, and I really wish I could. I really wish I kind of knew where I saw this or read this, but a lot of those people that get hired for that job quit because they feel like it's pointless. It's like it was like just I'll tell you what it was. It was on a Victoria's Secret documentary I watched where they had the diversity and inclusion guy as one of the talking heads, and he was like, "Yeah, I mean, I tried as much as I could, but they didn't really
because
want
all those
to have
all those
me
people
there."
basically, all those people are basically hired to talk to the people in power who are mostly like country club buddies who don't actually want to listen to anyone different than them.
No, you're absolutely right. Yeah.
So to bring this all back, our fledgling union that has not been recognized yet has started an Instagram page with Google Form responses, with the Google Form linked in it, so that our alumni, our former teachers, our current teachers can like anonymously post about their job, and then we put it on there to build some public pressure, because we could write letters all day and do legalese, but the institution of our school is going to win that game. So we had to figure out something different to do. So it is Philly, PHILLY, a crew, CRUE, on Instagram. And we are just trying to get traffic right now, build some support, and just try to get some traffic and some publicity to it, to shame our admin and leadership into coming to the table with us.
Nice. Yeah, go to that site, everybody, and say it one more time so people have it.
Yeah, Philly. So Philly, PHILLY, crew, CRUE, on just Instagram. So Philly,
like Motley Crew,
CRUE. Yeah.
Okay.
Exactly.
All right. Well, thanks for calling.
Thank you, Brian. I appreciate it.
Hopefully we drive some. Yeah. Peace. All right.
Yeah. I'll call back with an update.
All right. Okay. Next call here. You are on the show. Who am I talking to?
Hey, Brian. This is Steve from Brooklyn.
What's up, Steve? How's it going?
Oh, it's going pretty good. And a shout out to the Flubhead Nation.
Well, those people suck. But we don't give shout outs to those people on this fucking fine show.
I wanted to call in and say I took your advice and I listened to a couple episodes of Hometown Sessions, the Sully podcast.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
How'd you like it?
Man, I feel like it definitely gave me more of an appreciation for like any podcast I listen to, including you guys. It was so bad. And I took your advice and I listened to the ones that weren't like musician interviews. So it was just like him hanging out with like, I think just friends of his. Like I don't know their roles. Like one guy was a roofer, and like,
yes,
I don't know what the other guy did.
Dude, it's the worst shit of all time. No, there's never been a worse podcast. It's fucking great.
Yeah,
It's so good. I'll tell you why it's good. It's because like this guy got fucking everything in life. I don't care what you think about Sully, like as far as like what he looks like. He's a good looking guy. You know, he's a guy that women would be into, and I don't think he's ugly. He can sing that style that he sings. You know what I mean?
yeah.
It doesn't sound bad. It sounds like there's a lot of people that love that sound. And
Well,
you know, he stinks though.
the one thing
and
that was
he's not
surprising,
funny.
what was surprising though was like he seems like a pretty nice guy, and like he was like kind of like comically apolitical from at least the ones I listened to or actually watched. But like he talked about his charity a lot that he wants to do, and like he was saying how like he listens to he was saying like how he like watches like CNN and Fox, and he just seems like confused and like pretty apolitical. Like I kind of just assumed he'd be right wing and kind of like Aaron Lewis, you know, maybe.
I mean,
at least based on like just like their aesthetic and music.
Can I say the weirdest thing about him is that he gets incredibly angry at The View, the TV show that nobody has to watch ever. Nobody watches that show. It's a fucking show on like during the day. Like he's talking. Imagine he's talking to the fucking guys that listen to Godsmack about The View. Is just something that is so nuts, because those guys are like, why would I watch The View? What is it? Year 2000? That's crazy. But yeah, he's just like I said, he's good at what he does, but he is really not good at podcasting. And it just, when I listen to it, it's just a joy.
He pulled a Grease Man in the one episode I listened to, and he called Jacoby Shaddix to see what he was up to, who didn't answer. So it was like they were like struggling so bad for content. Like he asked the chat at one point to name some movies so he could like remember some like movies that he liked. He asked one of the co-hosts, "What do you think about The Matrix?"
Nice. We're gonna have to do on the new iteration of the call-in show. We're definitely gonna have to do some hometown sessions too. We'll definitely watch hometown.
Yeah, that'd be
sessions,
amazing.
I promise. Because it's so funny.
They also ordered. They ordered food in the middle of one of the episodes.
The taco one.
And was just like,
it's a taco
tacos.
one.
Yeah.
He says something racist in the taco one. I think I played it on Street Fight. He said something racist on that one, and I was like, what? And I can't remember. He got mad because he said a Mexican works at the taqueria, and he thought that people were going to be offended because he said Mexican. But because I guess he thinks Mexican is a slur. But yeah, very weird show,
and
but
then
it's great.
Yeah, then he was like talking about it's like, oh, like no one's offended if you say an Italian made that pizza.
Yep.
But as far as politics, so the one really funny thing I thought he said was I wrote these. I took some notes, and he said he doesn't like radicals and he'd rather not have them as fans, but he doesn't say like left wing or right wing. He just like doesn't like any sort of radicals, from what I gathered.
Yep. You have to be a centrist to be a Godsmack fan.
Yeah, he took
which
a
is
poll
funny
of the audience with like thumbs up or thumbs down for Biden, and they were mostly thumbs down.
Yeah, he could be conservative if he wants. I was he holding out hope he can play at Biden's next inauguration or something? Like he could be whoever he wants. You know who? I'll bet you money I know who he likes. Now we can't prove this, but a lot of these guys really like DeSantis, and I'll bet you
Oh,
that's
wow.
who he likes because he let them play live shows during COVID in Florida. That's why they like DeSantis. It's not like for any coherent reason. It's because he let them do their fucking concerts there when nobody else would. So yeah, weird fucking guy. I can't recommend it more. It might make you go crazy. And again, November 13th, the call-in show is going to be the sort of new version. And maybe, you know, I'm, like I said, I'll still be taking calls, but maybe we'll watch a little bit of hometown sessions on here. I think people who listen to the show will really fucking love that. And thank you for reminding me about it. I totally forgot I said that. Well, I got to get the last call in.
Sounds good. Have a good night.
You too. Thanks for calling. All right, last call. Think I know who it is. And well, hello, Bear. How are you?
Oh, I'm doing fantastic tonight. How are you, Brian?
I'm doing good. I'm doing really, really good, I think. You're the last caller. I got 9 minutes left in the show, so I think I'm gonna pull it off. I got very exciting week coming up in my life. I got to do the Wednesday show tomorrow with the guys from Seriously Wrong, SRSLY Wrong, and both of them. And I am also due in Shocktober this week. I think is going to be one of the ones that people really talk about with fucking, what was I going to say? With Bubba the Love Sponge with John Gabris. I think that like there's some nuggets in that show. Gabris worked for a prep company, which a lot of people don't know this, but like morning radio back in the day, there were these companies called prep companies that the radio station could pay for. And if you wanted to do a certain kind of bit, for example, War of the Roses, which is a bit that radio stations would do where basically it was like a dating game and a guy called in and he would send roses to his lover, like was the premise of the thing, right? And the guy calls in. He says, I'm sending roses to my lover. Next thing you know, there's another phone call and it's his wife and they fight on the air. And Gabris worked for the company that was the actors in those things that, people thought were real back in the day. So it's very fun to talk to somebody who did it.
I don't know how to tell you this. I still thought they were real in the year 2022. Until just now, when
War of the Roses?
Actors, I didn't realize they were actors.
No, that shit is not real. That is all improv actors, actually. They get paid decent money.
That's fucking wild because, I just assumed they were all real.
The parody songs are generally written by prep services. Anytime something really crazy happens on the radio, it probably is an actor from a prep service doing it.
I was a religious listener to Alt 105.7 in Atlanta when we still had it. Shout out to that radio station for all the ATLians that called in tonight. It's dead now. We don't have it anymore. But when I called in, they would never play me, and I never understood why. I guess I know now. It's because they don't let random ass people on the air.
They do. I mean, they do take calls, but they screen, which is something we don't do. And like the thing is, like, again, yes, they take calls, they take requests or whatever, but they don't play the requests. People who think they play the requests are insane. My brother.
I guess I was insane because I wasn't insane. I was a child, but I always thought they would play them.
But what's happening is that generally, luckily for them, like the most requests that are coming in are for the most popular songs that are in heavy rotation on the playlist. So, you got a good chance that, most people will be requesting a song that's already in rotation. And just do it. I mean,
fair.
I don't know what,
I
because
never.
like I remember back in the day, my brother called. This would had to have been '96. My little brother was staying the night with his friends, and he called the radio station 99.7 The Blitz, and he said, "Can you play Korn Blind?" This is before Korn's second album, and they said no. Uh, they said absolutely not. We don't play stuff like that because nobody wants to hear it. And that was the first time it ever dawned on me. But like the a lot of times, I don't know about how often they play requests, but I think that most of the calls they get are people asking for the most popular song that they're already about to play. You know?
Something that I never thought about was usually I'd call in and request a song when I was like fucking doing homework, listening to the radio, or like in the car with my family or whatever. So I guess like I always just assumed that they played the request by the time I like was done listening to the radio. And now I'm
Yeah.
starting to realize that's probably part of what they relied on too. Was like people stopping listening. People don't just listen to the
Yep.
radio for hours on end.
Yeah. Unless they're driving, and if you're driving, you're generally listening to something else because you're driving a long distance, is what I mean. But like, a lot of that radio stuff that like, I just have kind of learned over the years from being like obsessed with radio, is definitely, there is an underbelly of like things that, sort of happen where, they hire improv actors to be the other side of a prank call because it's illegal to do prank calls. So you can't do prank calls on the radio unless you get permission to play it, unless you're in like Vegas, I think. So you have to act like Crank Yankers. They had to make that show in Vegas so that
Really?
it was legal to play the stuff. Yeah, I just learned that this week because I was going to do a investigation on if the calls are real because I've just listened to too many fake. I just, everything seems so fake now to me. Every prank call seems fake to me, except for like the ones Chris does, because I think the only reason the ones that Chris does don't seem fake to me is because I know they're not for 100% sure,
Yeah. I mean, the idea of a prank call has always seemed kind of ridiculous to me. Because, like, I knew fucking, like, pranksters and jokesters and stuff. Nobody did prank calls. No one was calling into places just to bother them. You know?
We did.
Like, they were always...
Oh,
I never fucking met anyone who actually did prank calls. Just people who talked about them, They're like, oh, no,
That's
it's
all we
funny. But
did.
no one ever did it.
yeah. That's all we did some days. I mean, here's the funny thing. Back in when I was a kid, me and my friends were always in trouble. We were always in the principal's office, and I don't know who it was or what happened, but one of us stole the roster for the school, and it had all of the phone numbers of all the students. So we were pranking people constantly. We were pranking businesses. We would call like the hardware store and ask them if they have hex nuts, and then do the whole where do you buy your underwear, which doesn't make sense, but it's still kind of a nice little goof to say underwear, I guess, to a guy on the phone. But like,
Well,
prank calls don't work. Most people just hang up on you when you don't get to do a whole long prank call with anybody. That doesn't happen.
I do have one prank call story that wasn't a prank call. I was driving around with my friend, right? And we were high as balls. I mean, probably the highest we've ever been in our lives, just driving around, right? And we saw this truck for a shelving company. And I was like, why don't we call them and ask if they have shelves? That'll be funny. And then, of course, they were just like, yeah, we sell shelves. And then my friend was like, ask him if he has mahogany, because he thought that would be funny. And so I did. And he started explaining to me why no one would use mahogany for shelves. And then I just bullshitted. I was like, oh, well, I'm actually just a contractor for this older couple remodeling their house. And then I just got sucked into an 1.5-hour phone call where this guy seriously wanted to go to this couple's house that I completely fucking made up. And we were like panicking and shit. So really, we were the ones getting pranked at that point.
Yeah, that's a long call, number one, not a funny one. When I don't know, it's very hard. I don't have the killer instinct for that kind of stuff. Chris has asked me to do stuff with him, and I'm always willing to. But I always tell him, like, I just don't have the killer instinct. I don't have it in me to even, like, the guys Chris is being mean to are fucking pieces of garbage. But I would totally feel guilty even like on the call with like a Nazi, even like, or like alt-right guy. I would just be like, oh, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to waste your time, sir.
I'm comfortable fucking with people, but something about being on the phone, when I'm on the phone, like, I don't know. I don't have the ability to quit like I do in person. You know,
Might
I'm
be too young. Might
confrontational
be
as
too young.
hell, but just being on the phone, it like fucks up my rhythm.
True. Zach H asked if anybody's old enough to remember the Jerky Boys. Yes. I fucking loved the Jerky Boys. And me and Brett, for a while, were listening to Jerky Boys calls before we recorded the show. For like, there was this period of time where there was one. Fuck, I can't remember the one we listened to. It's the one where the guy's like, stop that. And also, do I bring the Saul Rosenberg going to the eye doctor? And it just, that one's so funny because he's like, should I bring my shoes? And I don't know why that always made me laugh. But it was you have to listen to Jerky Boys, Bear. I think you would gain some respect for prank calls if you listen to Longmont Potion Castle and Jerky Boys, I think. Or Terrorizing Telemarketers was a really fucking funny one. Some of the stuff is more problematic.
Us picking up the phone and fucking with telemarketers when they call us, that's our thing. That's what's more common. And we can do that for hours.
Terrorizing Telemarketers is a thing where Jim Florentine, who's a comic, he put he got a phone number and he put it on every list he could get it on, and then he would answer and fuck with them and record the calls, and it's pretty funny. It's so funny.
Yeah, I get that one. That one I can do and I understand. It's hilarious, especially if you act like truly like. Dude, my favorite thing to do is just to be like, do that like short-term memory loss thing that people do sometimes, you know, where they're like, yeah, sure, I'll do that. And they're like, great, when do you want to start? And they're like, start what? You know, like doing that.
Yeah.
I can talk with them in circles for hours doing that. It's just so fucking funny to me.
I mean, sales guys will eat shit so much just because they think they might be able to turn you into a sale. And that's what the Terrorizing Telemarketers thing by Florentine, to me, was always funny because he did get a lot of like sales calls where he would, you know, act like somebody's dying in the room or something like that, and the guy would be like, when do you want me to call you back, and shit like that. Like, and it just kind of showed what it's like to work sales. I don't know, I kind of you know, there is an art to prank calls that I love.
Do you know what's wild, Brian? And I don't think many people would air these, but what is wild and even more hilarious to me, I've gotten a few of these. My boyfriend can corroborate this story. I have had multiple telemarketers call me, especially foreign ones, and I'll say something, and then they just lose their shit and start like violently threatening me. I had one start yelling that he was going to bomb my house.
I love that.
That is like,
I love that. You won.
That one, I wasn't even like pranking him. He called me and he told me about like Viagra or some shit. And I said, hey, you know what, dude? Fuck you. And he just lost it. And he was like, I'm going to bomb your house. I'm going to kill your wife. I'm going to injure. Like, I'm like, whoa, man. This, like, what the hell?
You can make people mad for sure. Well, Bear, it's good to talk to you. I'm going to go lay down.
Before we go.
Okay.
On behalf of all the AT aliens that called in tonight, can I give an official Street Fight opinion on fish and grits?
Go for it. You can do that. Yes. I don't like fish though, so I can't corroborate.
Oh, you're not a fan of fish? That's disappointing.
I don't eat fish. No, ever. Really. I'm sorry. I eat tuna on like sushi, but that's it. Like I hate fish. It just and tuna's like doesn't have a ton of flavor, which is why like I like scallops. Like if it was scallops and grits, I could definitely give you that. But
Well, we do like shrimp and grits too.
oh, I don't like shrimp. That stuff creeps me out. It's like a bug.
Oh well,
I've had shrimp
we
twice
tried.
in my life. Yeah, I'm a freak. But I'm sure we'll hear some tuna fish. Forever Since Breakfast is having me singing the tuna song, which again, I'll be able to play that on the new version of the call-in show, which is November 13th is when that should start.
Oh, yeah.
Bear, thank you for calling, and there will always be room for you on the call-in show.
Fuck yeah. I'll see you next week, man.
Yeah, peace. All right, everybody.
Peace.
I'm going to go watch some foreign crime shows. It's been a pleasure. It's been a lot of fun. I think the delay is a lot shorter now, so that's really great. Again, Seriously Wrong and Shocktober, Bubba the Love Sponge with John Gabris this week. No call-in show next Sunday because I will just be getting back from Gatlinburg. But after that, I will not be taking any more time off till December, when I'm going to take a month off again and just record a bunch of shows ahead. But we'll talk about that later. Peace. I love you all so much. Thank you for